Okay, everyone, I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. I'm going to turn this on. I know it's very late, 11:15, um, but it's been another busy day. Today is, from our calculations, day 1000, but from whose calculations? So, day 1000, um, we had our prayer vigil yesterday for it, and it was a very big success. We uh, had some really good news today because of that. I believe, and I'm about to share it. Um, so 1,000 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. However, we have volumes, and I mean volumes, of information that we have been combing through that tell us a story. Tell us a story. And we've decided to find the common denominator. And the common denominator is that Richard was murdered, that he was dismembered, that they did not want to have another Vanessa Guillen, accountability of so many people in the military that are derelict in their duties, clearly getting away with a foreign ideology, getting away with serving foreign and domestic enemies instead of defending the Constitution, the land, and the people. And I want to make this very clear to everybody because a lot of information has been withheld from us for years, for decades, for decades. And I want to make this very, very clear. The reason why we have a military, a federal military, okay, that is supposed to have oversight from our representatives and our senators, that we have a commander in chief that is supposed to give orders and it's supposed to be obeyed, but we have then the joint chiefs of staff that are supposed to give their recommendations and also be a checks and balances in there. But the reason why we have all of that is to defend the Constitution, the land, and the people. Our DoD, Department of Defense, has been politicized. It has been politicized so bad that it has been weaponized against their own people that they are supposed to defend. And, you know, when you're talking about the Constitution, you're talking about the land and the people. Okay? Read the Constitution. It's all about the land and the people under God. Under God. And that's very, very important. And what happened in our son's case is he went missing the same month as they announced that the remains that they had just found were Vanessa Guillen's, that the remains in that foxhole that had been covered up with lime and concrete after they had sexually assaulted, illegally removed Vanessa Guillen's whistleblower protection, after they bludgeoned her so bad by using a hammer to her head that they couldn't even use her dental records to identify her. And they did that in the armory. After they had contorted her lifeless body somehow, some way, and stuffed her in a pelican case to put her in the back of a vehicle to drive her out to the Leon River, and let her, this is hot. This is Texas. Texas in April, May is hot. Okay. To put her in a car, in a vehicle, in a pelican case, and they dig a foxhole, they get lime, they get concrete, whatever. They didn't do it right. Thank God. Thank God they were incompetent because, um, the lime and the concrete is made to cover the smell, okay? So that the animals wouldn't get to it. But she was buried in that hole after being cut up, after they tried to burn her. Um, so they cut her up, they tried to burn her, they put her in the hole, and then they thought they got away with it. They thought they got away with it, and it seems to me, at this point that the CID, what it does is cover up for crimes and commits crimes against the victims and the victims' families. I have heard story after story after story where the victims' families or the victim themselves feel like they have become the victims twice. Twice. The second time under the CID. And that the perpetrators, the criminals, are the ones that get protected. And so in our case, that's exactly how I feel this happened. And let's see, I want to make sure that everyone can hear me because I get into this and I have some very important news to share. Because yesterday was such a big success. Where two or three are gathered, there is the Lord, right? There is the Lord. And I want to tell everyone, God is no buttercup. That comes from Otto Scott. I didn't make that up. That comes from Otto Scott. If you don't know who Otto Scott is, you should read his books. He's R.I.P. Otto Scott. But he is no God is no buttercup. He's a heavyweight champion of everything, of creation, right? That's what I always have said to my children. And so to pray to him, to get that power from him, was extraordinary yesterday. And, the demons come out and they'll go, wah! Like this in the background, and they'll say, I'm waiting for you, get away, or whatever. They'll do all kinds of stuff like that because you're having the power of the Holy Spirit. You have the power of the Holy Spirit, and that vibrates. And that's why I put up that amazing video that a friend sent me with the vibration that turns into the stars, because my friend absolutely knows that I love star forts, right? I love to travel. I love to go to these star forts. We just when we went to go see our new grandbaby, we stopped there in St. Augustine in Florida, which has a star fort. We have star forts all up and down our East Coast, and we went up into the lighthouse to take a good look at God's creation, and it is all about energy in just all around us. That's why we have flowers are mini star forts. Flowers are little mini star forts. I have some moss, some Irish moss in my garden, and it has these little teeny weeny flowers that are in the shape of a star, right? So that energy, that power, the power of the Holy Spirit was with us, not only in the creation of the world, not only in the power of the world, the way it works, but also in the power of getting justice, the power of finding truth. And so it was just really amazing yesterday. And I was so happy to have most of our grandbabies around us so that they can also feel that energy, right? To feel the power of love, the power of God, the energy of justice, the energy of the communion of saints, the energy of God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, the Trinity, which is also a star, right? So it's so amazing to get results like the day after. And what am I talking about there? What am I talking about? Well, I am talking about a meet, and and I don't want to get too happy about this because look, y'all, we're dealing with an agency. We're we're dealing with our servants. Okay? The DOD is supposed to serve us. They are supposed to be our servants. They are, and it's, of course, we just had Easter. We learned that we have to wash each other's feet. Not only are they supposed to serve us, but we are to serve them. But the bottom line is that they serve us. And so we are dealing with agencies, departments of our government that have forgotten the Constitution, the land, and the people, and that they are supposed to serve us. Okay? And what they've done, and what we think, hopefully we're going to find this out with our volumes of paperwork, that Richard was not the first CONUS Dust 1 missing soldier under the Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart, that he was the first dead soldier. It's not even the dead soldier. That he's just plain out the victim of a terrible crime because the CID doesn't have the level of esprit de corps that it takes to secure the whistleblower's rights, the whistleblower's protection. And Richard was a whistleblower, and they doxed him. They leaked his file, and Leilani Hart got his file. She shared it with many. Tavita Nusa shared it with many. And we have real suspicions now on who murdered Richard. We have in our volumes of paper here that we're going through a list of names of people that participated in the murder of Richard, the dismembering of Richard, and also taking his remains and hiding them in separate places or putting them in separate places. But just like with Vanessa Guillen, they never thought that her body would be found, but God had other plans, and the animals were there. The linemen, I think they were fixing some kind of lines or fixing a fence or whatever, and they saw the animals there, and they found Vanessa's remains. Which, let's look at it. Let's look at what happened when, and I think did I put it up? I think I listed it on Facebook. Let me look. Because I think it's very, very powerful. I should have listed it everywhere. Please share this information everywhere, because we don't have a $1 trillion organization here with all these agencies and, like endless wallets and huge staffs and huge Pentagon buildings with all kinds of top secret computer connections and all of this stuff and connections around the world. We don't have that. We're just a simple family. A simple family. We love our son. We want to find our son. But we have a great God, a very big, powerful, great, great God. And that Pentagon and the agencies and the departments and all that endless money that doesn't have anything backing up except for goodwill, and they're ruining our goodwill around the world, and the good and then the world doesn't want our money, right? So you know, we we have all of that is no impediment to Christ and his kingdom. Christ and his kingdom are so much bigger. So much bigger. And that's why every step of the way, I did not know what tomorrow would bring. I still don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know what this meeting is going to bring, but we did get contacted today. We got contacted today, and I'm going to read it to you, and then I'll share what I wanted to about Vanessa Guillen's story and how that applies to Richard's story. Yeah, here it is. I got it now. So Rob just got this, and I'm getting a little emotional because we told them at the beginning we want a win-win, and now I don't feel that way at all. I don't feel that way at all. I feel like I have seen the DOD become so corrupt. I've seen so much corruption in the DOD and the military that and the way they have used asymmetric warfare tactics against us, the way they use military operations against us, the way they launched a smear campaign against Richard and did not, of course they went along with it. They didn't nip it in the bud. And they absolutely have the power to do that. They've never mentioned in their news reports that Richard was a distinguished honor graduate for basic training in AIT, advanced individual training, that he was for his class number 1. They never mentioned that. And it was definitely a smear campaign. It was definitely a cover-up. They never mentioned what First Sergeant Jay Paulin did, how First Sergeant Jay Paulin injured us, absolutely injured us, and more, and more. And he even asked, "How did I injure you? How is this injurious?" These people are fools. Do they not love their children? Do they not understand? I don't believe that. I believe they know exactly what they're doing. And he knew exactly what he was saying. And I think he has a lot to cover up for. I think he's covering up a lot. So I hope this is what's going to be in this investigation, because like I've been saying, Richard's case is not a cold case. Richard is not a cold case. And I don't even believe Enrique Roman Martinez is a cold case, okay? I don't believe that. And I have to say that all the time, because I think that family got taken advantage of. And I think that is absolutely appalling from our military and our military leadership. They do not blink an eye to walk all over people. And it's their duty to serve those people. Enrique's family is not subordinate to the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army is subordinate to Enrique Roman Martinez's family. And I hope everybody understands that. And what they've done to put him in cold case is, I think, criminal. And I think it was criminal that they put Richard in cold case. So, by the grace of God, it looks like they're going to open up the investigation again. this is what I have. Um, Good afternoon, Lieutenant Colonel Halliday. And I hope this email finds you well. And I would like to see if you will be available for a telephone call on Tuesday, the 25th of April, 2023, to discuss investigation concerning your son. On the call, we would like to introduce the leadership within the directorate and provide an introduction to SSA Jessica. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, who will be your direct point of contact and case agent for the investigation going forward. Are they going to reopen it? Let's pray. Let's pray. And but I want to warn everyone, okay, what we're getting ourselves into. I want to warn everybody to really pray for us, really pray for the military, really pray for the leadership, because it works, doesn't it? It works. Further, if you have any questions concerning the investigation, we can discuss them at that time. Okay, so that is from CID there at Quantico in Virginia. Now, I'm going to turn this on and I'm going to explain to you why I am hesitant. So we were getting leaks out of Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe's meeting that he said in those meetings he did not want another Vanessa Guillen, meaning. Now, I don't want to put words in his mouth, okay? But I was there in those meetings with him. And never once did he tell us, by the way, your son was a whistleblower. Your distinguished honor graduate son, your distinguished honor graduate, saw something and said something. And he was a whistleblower. And he first went to his command and they didn't do anything. He then went to the CID and they didn't do anything. And then he went to Child Protective Services and told them, and this is why I believe we can't get our Child Protective Service FOIA answered. Maybe Mr. Howell will be able to do that for us. Maybe this Jessica will be able to do that for us. But this is a huge problem because the Child Protective Service complaint talks about, from the information that I'm getting, that Richard had gone to the CID and they didn't do anything. And so that's why he was coming to the CPS with his complaints. And I think he interfered with someone's business plan. I think some very established El Pasoans' business plans were getting disturbed. And they're in connection with Tavita Nusa, in connection with Leilani Hart, in connection with James Hart, in connection with Dallas Hart, because you understand we're getting information. And I hope that Mr. Howell will be able to is Howell in the military? Rob always is in communication with him. I'm not. So I have to look at it and make sure. Oh, special agent. Yeah, he's CID. So the special agent, Howell, maybe he can tell us how these are all connected, because we have, and if Dallas Hart was the XO for Delta Battery 143, ADA, Richard's unit. Because this is what we're reading. We're reading that he was the XO. We even have a witness testimony that he was the XO, not of 243, of 143. And that's a huge cover up, and they need to answer that question, because even though Dallas Hart and James Hart tells us that he was Delta Battery 143, they're on our suspect list. Those two are on our suspect list. I mean, how can they not be when Tavita Nusa, special agent in the CID, leaks to Leilani Hart? Not even leaks. He is willingly, illegally doing many different things right there. He's handing over documents that are absolutely illegal to hand over. He is doxing a whistleblower and putting a target on that whistleblower's back. He's absolutely, if all of this, what we're reading, is true, and everything fits. Everything fits together now. Everything makes sense. Everything makes sense. It didn't make sense if Richard is AWOL and a deserter, and Captain Yoshida is all broken up and crying, and they don't even contact us, and they don't even contact the media. They didn't even, in those 36 days, they didn't even contact the media to put it on the media that Richard was missing. They didn't contact the Red Cross to let the Red Cross know that Richard was missing, to contact family. They didn't. They kept it quiet, y'all. They kept it a secret. Shh. They kept it a secret. Everything makes sense. And so, they're on our suspect list. And James Hart was very nice enough to talk to me. And, I'm naive, y'all. I'm naive. I haven't been around people that can do unbelievably evil things in my life, but I absolutely know that people can do unbelievably evil things. And I don't know if he did an unbelievably evil thing when I was talking to him on the phone. And that is to lie. So, to lie about something like this, not even protecting your child, is an excuse to lie about a United States volunteer soldier whistleblower being brutally murdered, cut asunder, dismembered. That requires surgical experience. I'm thinking that Dallas Hart was not really the part of this. You know why? Because the more that I think about it, the more I think that these are experienced people. These have to be older, experienced people. People with surgical skills, people with maybe some long history in the military, that understand how the military works, that understand that Vanessa Guillen's case was really big. And I have it right here. The U.S. military and government officials had motive to cover up Richard Halliday's murder case. They didn't want another Vanessa Guillen. We have a leak from Lieutenant General Bernabe's meeting that they didn't want another Vanessa Guillen. They didn't want accountability. Those who were fired in the Vanessa Guillen case are Fort Hood Commander Major General Scott Efland, Deputy Commander General of the 3rd Infantry Division Brigadier General Michael Douglas, Colonel Ralph Overland, Command Sergeant Major Arthur Cliff Burgoyne III, 1st Cavalry Division Command, Sergeant Major Jeffrey Hornaday, 3rd Cavalry Regiment Command, Sergeant Major Michael Rhodes, Senior Criminal Investigator Aaron Robinson, Supervisor, and Army CID Special Agent. Oh, Aaron Robinson was also in the CID. I just got that. I got that this morning a little bit, but it just really sank in just now. Special Agent in charge of the Southwest Region, Colonel Nathan M. Schwartz. The head of Fort Hood's Criminal Investigation Command Unit, Colonel Patrick Vimpy. Oh wow. Um, I'm just getting chills because of reading that. I'm thinking with Richard's case, um, oh, I don't even want to tell you what I'm thinking. That I don't even want to tell you what I'm thinking. Um, oh my gosh. I'm getting chills. Okay, so let's turn this off. Oh, so I did want to show this. What happens? What happens when a volunteer U.S. Army soldier goes missing and is found viciously murdered in the same month as Vanessa Guillen's remains are found? Um, and I want to make that clear because her remains might have been found at the very, very end of June, but it was announced the first week in July. So that's why I put that there. Murderers dismember the victim and divide the parts and bury parts in various locations because they can't take the chance that the parts will be found, you see. U.S. military command act together in secret with all other agencies and media, which I want to talk about too right now, to hide the case. U.S. Army does not contact family. The soldier is dropped from rolls. And U.S. Army Command starts a smear campaign on the soldier and protects the murderers. Absolutely. That's I believe every one of those things is true. I do. I believe every one of those things is true. Because remember what Jay Pollan said? You heard about Vanessa Guillen, right? Well, I want to assure you this ain't that. Because Vanessa Guillen was buried in one place. He wanted to assure everybody this ain't that. Richard has been dismembered and he's spread out everywhere. And I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth. This is the torment and the agony they've put us through. Okay? Because they've made us the investigators. They've made us the ones that have to brainstorm through all of this. They've made us the investigators. Do I think that Jay Pollan had a hand in this? He's on that suspect list high up there. Because what would possess a first sergeant to do what he did and to act in his manner and to be angry? I think fear makes you angry. Being in a bad situation makes you angry. Road rage. This is murder rage. This is cover-up rage. This is let's help get rid of the body rage. This is let's protect Delta Battery's image at all costs. I don't know. I don't know what kind of rage he has. I'm just brainstorming, like I said, because we have been made essentially the investigators, and investigators have to brainstorm because they told us, bring us leads, bring us leads. We'll do something if you bring us leads. Bring us what you have, right? Because they knew all along that they had Richards. They were finding parts of our son starting out as early as the 28th of July. And then, like I have mixed dates on when the kilometer 29 body parts, fragments were found. And that is like between October 7th and October 19th. So sometime in that time, they found fragments of Richard at kilometer 29. And that's why on October 26th, the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado and the G3 of the 32nd ATCOM could go into the Dollar General and, look at the flyer and say, oh, you can take that down because he's been found. He's been found. He told me on the phone, oh, I want to help you look for your son. But he was saying to the cashier, you can take that flyer down. When you say take the flyer down, you don't want to help find anybody. When you send a senior leader to the military police guard mount to smear a missing soldier, you don't want to find him. You're doing everything possible not to find him, to sabotage the search for him. And I think there have been people implicated in this already, behind our back, in the dark, under cover of the media. Under the cover of the media. Which brings me to El Paso Matters. I watched that site, El Paso Matters, ever since the whole thing with Leilani Hart being in one of their reports. That was brought to my attention because we have Team Find Richard Halliday, and we have several. I'm from El Paso. People don't understand that. I was born at White Sands. I went to the Fort Bliss Elementary School, the kindergarten, the elementary school. I went to MacArthur Elementary School. I went to Bassett Middle School. Okay, I was, was okay, early 70s, okay, 19s, well, Bassett, it was, the very end of the 70s, okay, so I'm saying my age, but, it was a different time there, absolutely. I always absolutely loved El Paso. Absolutely. You got the mountains, you got the desert, you've got Mexico there. How could you not love El Paso? It's absolutely beautiful. The sun, the sunsets, the mountains, the swimming. I was a big swimmer for the sand sharks at the replica when it was outside, very cold in the morning, that pool. So I know that area. My dad has old friends there, R.I.P. Dad. And, so we have Team 5 Richard Halliday in El Paso. And we were made aware that Leilani Hart was on this El Paso Matters and KTEP and, so I made a complaint because when I looked at the story, and, I've been made an investigator, y'all. I've been turned in. I've gotten a degree in investigation in the last 1,000 days. And so I took that article and I tore it apart. What do I mean by that? I took a red pencil to it and a red marker, and I checked everything out, and I separated it like a puzzle, and I wanted to see, what did Leilani Hart have to say in this? And she wasn't credible at all. But El Paso Matters and KTEP were making her credible. And she's not credible. She was not credible at all. And the person that they're trying to attack is the very person. Well, I don't want to say the very person. I want to say that we've had a lot of help through these 1,000 days to move this case forward, to give us the understanding of what happened to our son. And one of those was the officer of the court that made the CID and FBI complaints in January of 2022 about Tavita Nusa not even leaking, illegally exposing Richard as a whistleblower by illegally handing over files to a civilian that was up to no good. And one of those files absolutely was Richard's, and that file, Richard's file, was being used, was very important to fortify her complaint that she turned in to the CID about her husband, about her family, that had to do with child abuse, rape of a child. This is what we're being told, and child pornography. And that, that was very, very, because now we knew the XO, that's what we're being told, and the military does not back up Dallas Hart. Where is the military backing up Dallas Hart and saying, no, he was not the XO of Delta Battery 143? There should be lots of paperwork, but we got this weird travel voucher. James Hart was not happy when we got that travel voucher. Okay, because I thanked him. I thought it came from him. I thought, oh, thank you so much. Because, I talked to him on the phone a couple times, I think. No, one time, two times. I don't know. But I thought it came from him, and I thanked him. Thank you so much for the travel voucher. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, I got your son's travel voucher. I thought that you sent it to me, that you sent it to Chris, and Chris gave it to me. But that wasn't the case at all. He didn't know anything about it, and he was not happy. He said, you should not have that. Okay. So, and it's, and he's right. It really shows that it's sloppy work, because travel vouchers have not been handwritten, and they're not acceptable as handwritten. That could be easily forged. So, they've been all digital for years and years. So I don't know what these asymmetric warfare tacticians understand, or the military operations, what they're trying to do, but I'm just saying, we know El Paso, we know that area, we know Juarez, we know the military, at least not me so much, but I have people around me that know the military. And my dad kept on saying, there's no esprit de corps. There's no esprit de corps. And I did not understand the weight that had. That they would turn on each other so readily. That they would be able to murder each other and cut them asunder and dismember them and plan and plot how they were going to discard the body parts, the remains of their fellow soldier, of their fellow veteran. Because I believe veterans are involved in this, okay? Absolutely, I believe veterans are involved in this. And I think that Major General Clem Coward has a lot to answer. A lot to answer. So maybe with Special Agent Howell appointing someone to investigate in this, we will move forward, right? We will move forward in this and see. But I think they already know who murdered Richard. And they led us astray. They kept us in the dark. And we still, to this day, do not have the remains of our son. We still do not have his remains. Which is unbelievable evil. because they didn't want another Vanessa Guillen. They didn't want to be held accountable. Well, I think that right now, the Pentagon, uh, I think it needs to be totally retrenched. I think the power should go to the states to defend this country. I think they have absolutely failed. Not only have they failed in every program, in suicides, in sexual harassment, in sexual assault, in violent crimes, in Army preparedness, Army readiness, be all you can be. Every program, they have totally failed. And so it would be insane to keep giving them money, just like El Paso Matters. I think El Paso Matters failed. They've covered this up. They've played their part in covering this up. And I'll tell you why I believe that. Because when Miss Korchurga, who is very powerful in El Paso Matters and also in KTEP, when she called, she was not calling for Richard's case. Okay? Not at all. She was upset that I put in a complaint that Leilani Hart was not credible. And you know what that meant? That meant that KTAP and El Paso Matters was complicit in attacking and being a political attack dog and just attacking innocent people. Not only that, but I told her, this hinders the investigation in our son, the missing soldier. Not only is he a missing soldier, he's the very first CONUS Deaths 1 missing soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart. Okay? This is before we got all of this other information that, of the autopsies, the areas where his parts were found. All of this, we have so much information, it makes your head spin. And so, of course, that's why they're going to bring him out of, maybe they'll try to do the right thing. I don't know. They have no integrity. Neither does El Paso Matter. So please don't give them your money, because they're asking for money today. Okay? They're asking for money. When I saw that, I was like, please, everyone, don't give them your money. Not even a penny. Because I'm telling you, when Miss Korchurga was on the phone with me, it was like talking to Captain Park's letter. That same spirit that was in Captain Park's letter was in Miss Korchurga. For me, it was like she's pointing the finger. Is he helping you? Yes, he helped me. He helped Richard. Don't you want to help Richard? Miss Korchurga, don't you want to help Richard? Don't you want to help us find our son? I mean, a little snippet in the KTIP or El Paso Matters about what's going on in the case of our son, 1,000 days, at least a little snippet about 1,000 days. That would be nice. But she's not interested in that. And I feel like with all the information that we have discovered, uncovered from the darkness that they've kept us in, I think this is a huge story. A huge story. Do not give them a dime. Which leads me back to the Pentagon. They have mismanaged our money. They have failed 5 audits in a row. 5 audits in a row. Oh, I failed that audit last year. Oh, who cares? I'm going to be like a drunken sailor, spend that money. Woo, woo, woo. And, they have misplaced, unaccounted for, trillions of dollars. Trillions. Okay? Wrap your head around that. Go do a search. What is the visual of $1 trillion? What could I buy for $1 trillion? How far would $1 trillion stack on pallets? You will be blown away. And that is what they mismanage. Not only do they mismanage our money in unbelievable evil amounts of money, okay? Who knows where it's going? But they also mismanage our most precious assets, our volunteer sons and daughters. And they mismanage our weapons. We have so much weapon trafficking, it's not even funny. So they mismanage our weapons. They mismanage our most precious assets. They mismanage the money that we entrust to them. They mismanage our uniforms with our beautiful stars because they promote people that are not interested in defending the Constitution, the land, and the people. They're promoting people that have covered up unbelievable evil, that participate in unbelievable evil, in crimes against humanity. Crimes against humanity. They perpetrate crimes against humanity. You have to remember, that carries a lot of weight for me, because I was talking to a friend this morning who she's Mexican, and she did it the right way. Her family did it the right way. They immigrated legally into the United States because she wanted to get away from corruption, right? And I said, yeah, so did my family. My grandfather immigrated to the United States to get away from unbelievable evil and corruption called the Dritte Reich. He was also in his teens. And he didn't want to join the party, and you couldn't get a job unless you joined the party. He was a plumber. He became a furniture maker in Portland, Oregon. So, yeah. All my grandparents were German. All my grandparents came to this country legally to get away from corruption. My mother is German. I mean, her first station was White Sands, where I was born. And that's where she relinquished her German citizenship and got her American citizenship. Very quickly. She did it right. So I understand immigration. That's my family, an immigrant family. When my son-in-law came over here, he did it the right way. He's South Korean. So I forgot where I was going with all of this discussion, but oh yeah, the leadership. They need to have esprit de corps. But no, we're so top heavy, bloated. It's all about political lapdogs or political attack dogs. I mean, when I look at General McConville, I look at him as a political lapdog for the Secretary of the Army, Christine Wormuth. He needs to get a spine. He needs to do what's right, and he doesn't. And that's why we have one failed program after the next. That's why we have trillions of dollars unaccounted for. That's why we have thousands of children that come to this country and they're unaccounted for. Minors unaccounted for because we have so much corruption. And then when Richard went missing, to make us the investigators, to bring forth the leads, to not even sponsor us to come to El Paso after they never even contacted us and took Richard off the rolls, which essentially threw us out into the street with no jurisdiction. We thought they didn't tell us, well, you could go to the DA, you could go to the AG, and now we're writing the DA. We're finding out that he could offer us protection, that he could give us some victims' rights, an education in what his role is. No, I have to find it out myself because, and Rob has to find it out because he doesn't even answer our communication. And then we're getting leaks that DA Rosales, who El Paso Matters seems to have done a political hit job on her, right? And I'm wondering, after talking to Miss Kocherga and seeing the corruption in our own son's case, seeing the corruption with what they did to President Trump, whether you like him or not, you absolutely know that they had political attack dogs on him. Absolutely. And I think that they did that. I'm thinking that's what happened to Yvonne Rosales. And because I'm hearing that she was looking into Richard's case. And they've done everything to stop that, to sabotage that. Remember Halliday? Remember PI Phil Waters? I do. Remember the stage task force find Richard Halliday? Remember the liaison? Remember our CAO? I can go on and on and on. This is a huge, huge story. And Miss Kocherga doesn't even care when she's talking to me. She just wants to point a finger at me and ask who's helping me. Like no one's supposed to help. No one's allowed to help you. What do you mean? What do you mean? Why aren't you helping me? Do not give them a dime. And I really hope that we figure out a new way to defend this country. I really do. I hope the smartest people get together and find a new way to defend this country, to protect this country, to defend the Constitution, the land, and the people, our most precious assets, our future, our children. We prayed about that yesterday. Let's pray for the land and our children, our future. That's our future. So if you have any questions, let me see if I have any other things that I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, so I wrote today, and you can read that if you go to El Paso Matters. You can read that. What is this about? Oh, this is interesting. Let's listen to this. I think this is so. This applies so well to Richard's case and also Vanessa Gann.
An IRS investigator wants whistleblower protection to talk about the mishandling of a high-level investigation, which sources tell Fox is the Hunter Biden probe. Here's Chief Washington correspondent Mike Emanuel.
The White House is defending.
Okay, so that's really all I want to play. But so this IRS agent wants whistleblower protection. Well, it got blown for Vanessa Gann, and she ended up in pieces in a foxhole. Okay? And it got blown in Richard's case. And he ended up all over Western Texas and into Mexico. And so this is another thing you have to realize why they wanted to hide this case so badly. Because we have reports that Richard was in uniform. So that means he was on duty. He was called to duty. Okay? He was in uniform. And then somehow, some way, and I have reports, they murdered him, and then they dismembered him, and then they divided him up to be placed all over western Texas and in Mexico. And they found those remains in Mexico. So that makes this international. That makes this international. It also is terrible because he's in uniform and he was brutally murdered, and they did not want another Vanessa Guillen. That's what I think. And it all fits. It fits together. And I think that it was not Dallas Hart as the ringleader. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it was someone more seasoned. Someone a little bit more in self-control. And capable of unbelievable evil. So maybe that's not self-control. I don't know. But it all needs to be verified. I understand that. And I understand. You see, in order to say this, I have to risk my life. I have to risk my reputation. I have to risk so many things to say this on a live stream. And I get no protection because the DA Hicks doesn't even answer our communication. And I don't know what Mr. Esparza's doing. I don't know what Mr. McDonald's doing. They might say, well, we have other cases. I understand, but that's no excuse. We give you everything. We give you the big buildings. We give you the air condition. We give you the protection, the cars, the retirement, and we give you a big staff. Get it together. Get it together. And there's no excuse not to communicate. We haven't gotten what we sent them, and we haven't gotten anything back. They are supposed to serve us. Okay? And so we're left here unprotected, and we can't get our FOIAs answered. So we're piecing everything together, and I'm telling you, I'm risking my reputation, my future, to say I absolutely believed that this was a conspiracy against Richard, that they coaxed him and lured him out of his barracks room by making him go to duty function, and he was in uniform, and they proceeded to kill him brutally, and then dismembered him, and proceeded to collude how they were going to disseminate his body, his remains. And after it happened, and they found some remains anyway, the military machine, the government machine, decided to cover this up. Not only did they decide to cover it up, but they decided to sabotage the family looking for their son. That's us. To conduct asymmetric warfare tactics, to use everything in their powers, even military operations, against us. I think those leaders, our 44 four-star generals and admirals and all these other leaders, that they have such a criminal character that was very clear in the whole COVID thing, because they committed crimes against humanity during that time when this happened, that when this case came along, They were absolutely capable of that kind of unbelievable evil. That's what I think. They were absolutely capable. When you're in the midst of committing crimes against humanity, your mental state is at war. And during war, you can commit absolutely unbelievable evil. And that's what they were doing. Because you understand that the DOD was behind the whole launch, the whole what do you call it, production, and the operation of the whole COVID mess. Absolutely. So, we absolutely know at this time that we were lied to. We absolutely know that the level of censorship, and I think one of our biggest accomplishments, and I know that the demons might not think this, but I absolutely know this, that one of our biggest accomplishments and the results is the fruit, and was mighty fruit, was tracing and tracking those vile and vulgar and violent phone messages that we were getting for months. And if we have people that admit that they were doing it, and we have a law enforcement that don't do anything about that, that's also criminal. Absolutely. To threaten us because we're just doing what we were told to do to investigate our son's disappearance and bring forth leads. And to be so much defamation, so many lies, so much evil. I just can't even tell you. So I'll answer questions now. I'm sorry. I'm reminiscing on what we've been through. Okay. Comments. James, you can buy countries like Ukraine for $1 trillion. Yep. Your mom didn't even speak English at the time, but she sure was a dresser. Thank you, Marcia. James Ratcliffe, when they commit crimes, they are not for service for anyone but themselves. That's right. Don't give up. The shift is coming. I think so too. We've had a real shift. Thank you, Danielle, for the prayers. Thank you, Patty, for the prayers. Thank you, Anicia, for the prayers. El Paso is like a prison to me. Well, do not, whatever you do, give any penny, dime, nickel, dollar, not even a slug, to El Paso Matters or K-Tip. Don't do it. Because they're not real media. Any media that calls us and doesn't want to know about the story and doesn't even cover it, not even a little snippet of 1,000 days, say a prayer for Richard Halliday, not even that, I think is, they don't even deserve a slug. I have not been on Facebook in a while. What happened to Richard? Was he found? Well, he was found as early as July 28th, but and this seems so unbelievable to tell you, but I believe this, that they found him, and they're keeping him from us. They're keeping his remains from us because they didn't want another Vanessa Guillen. We have these autopsy reports that need to be verified that claim to identify pieces of Richard with DNA or with dental fragments of him. We have the areas right there at Clint, Texas, 7 miles east of the Clint Town Center office. It's called Robert's Tank. I don't know if that's real. This is what we're getting. And they depended on informants. They depended on informants a lot. That fragments of his remains were found at kilometer 29 in Juarez, Mexico. That makes this international. That his remains were in uniform. That they found parts of uniforms or gear even. And his phone. That vehicles are involved in this that they found. We have information that partial remains were found at Red Rio Range, part of Donna Ana Range. And we have that autopsy, which would be the military autopsy. We have the Mexican autopsy report for the Juarez autopsy report. We have the El Paso County autopsy report from Clint, and we can't get in them. We can get bullet points for them that were given to us, but they all need to be verified, but they all say that they have identified the remains as Richard Halliday, the missing soldier. We also have the strange autopsy report that seems to be really, really sloppy, messy on purpose. And we have an undisclosed area. And that autopsy was for January of 2021, which is very curious to me because remember, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, we got that call that he was looking for the remains of Richard in that training area of Kamal Jabbar. I hope I'm saying that right. Right there on Fort Bliss. And so that's why I believe that undisclosed area where they found also partial remains of Richard is from that training area. So, but that's just us using our timeline. That's putting the pieces together. But it needs to be verified, and we need to get Richard's remains. We need to get his remains. And for 1,000 days to go by, we know that he is not AWOL. We know that he did not commit suicide. We know because they would have contacted us, y'all. We know that he did not get in an accident or anything like that. The response from them was to cry, to be nervous, to shut everything down, to take Richard off the rolls, to kick us out, to sabotage the search for Richard, and then to smear Richard because they did not want another Vanessa Guillen because this was an international Vanessa Guillen situation. And Richard is not Vanessa Guillen. Richard is Richard Halliday. And so, and that Miss Korcherga didn't want any part of this story when it is huge. You could tell that that El Paso Matters and KTEP, they're not in it to tell the stories. They're in it for some kind of other entity that's pulling their chains, because I say chains because it's slavery, and that they are, political attack dogs, because they just wanted to attack the innocent. And I did a very thorough, with my husband, with some friends, um, investigation over that KTEP hit job on the officer of the court that in, get this, January of 2022, went to the CID and the FBI and had to report in his position that there was a leak of Richard's file. And, Special Agent Tavita Nusa to Lalani Hart. So that was really, really important. And he deserves a reward for that. Not KTEP or El Paso Matters being given any kind of penny to continue their political agenda that they have, instead of serving the people also, as real journalists. So that's my opinion. I don't force anyone to do anything, but I just wanted to let everyone know that. So, okay, everyone. I think that was really great that we did get contacted. That Richard seems to be coming out of cold case, and maybe things are breaking. They can't, you can't hide the truth. And my friend said today, you can't cover the sun. She said in Spanish, you can't cover the sun with and the lie with one finger, right? You can't cover the sun and a lie with one finger or your thumb, right? Which means just because you might cover the sun with your thumb doesn't mean the sun isn't there. The sun is there. Okay, so the truth is there, and the truth will come out, and the lies are unsustainable, and they mean it for evil. God means it for good, which means the truth comes out, and we'll learn from that. And I think, geez, I feel like I should get some kind of degree in investigative investigation, criminal investigation, or something. Not that I would use it, because I just want my son, and I want to help the homeschoolers. I want to do whatever I can with the homeschoolers to make the parents' lives easier as they go through that, because our schools are in such bad shape, and learn how to navigate that. That's what I really want to do. And I think a lot of families, not to say that I'm really good at what I do, but I do help. And a lot of families have not been able to be helped because of this crime. So there's always consequences to everything. And the broken window fallacy is just that, a fallacy. To break the window because you want the glass maker to have a sale, does not mean that that's a good thing, because it keeps that glass maker from making the beautiful stained glass windows in the church, or developing a better glass, or whatever. You're taking away the time and the effort of the glass maker. And I hope that makes sense. So this whole thing, destroying small businesses and protecting criminals when you're supposed to be defending the Constitution, especially when you're in law enforcement, is it's causing a lot more damage than what we ever will know. What we will ever know. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming on for so long. This is day 1000 in our book. Pray for Richard, And I want to thank everyone for their contributions with their poetry. Um, that's really wonderful. Thank you so much. Um, okay. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.